Hello, hello. What's up? What's up? It is a new day, it is a new week, and it's time to get social. My name is KaVonna, and welcome to the Introverts Social Hour. Hello, hello, and welcome to the season 3 finale of the Introvert Social Hour. Woot, woot, woot. This is a solo episode with just me. I felt like it's always good to close out solo dolo, just kind of reflect on life and things like that. I noticed that's what I did last year, and I was going through like a huge life shift. And I kind of wanted to bring that back and reflect this year and kind of what I've learned in the past year, or even less than the past year, in regards to just like what am I doing that's better for me outside of career shifts and stuff, because quite frankly my career does not define me and the work I do does not define me. It's like, what am I doing to just make my life better as KaVonna? And I wanted to share that. I think romanticizing your life is something that is really important. And I know for some people it might seem like kind of cheesy, but I really do think that's really the best way to go about it. And you don't even have to say necessarily romanticizing your life. I think the key word here is like just moving with intention about what you do on a day-to-day basis, and being intentional about who you want to be and where you want to be and how you want to feel, throughout the days, plural, because the days keep going. And it's so easy to get caught up in this whole loop of, okay, I'm gonna go to work Monday through Friday. All right, Saturday, Sunday, I'm probably just doing adult things and getting things together. If you got kids, you're also taking care of your kids and things like that. Okay, Monday, Friday, we're back at it again. And so I just wanted to talk about what that means and what that feels like in my experience so far. Now that I have been intentional about that, instead of just kind of being random about it, just being more mindful about what I want in my life is super important. That being said, I wanted to go into what does it actually mean to romanticize your life. And like I said, the key word is intentional, like being intentional about like how you move throughout your life. But I really do think it is the idea of also just like giving yourself love, and kind of this idea of like, no, I'm not going to just spend my life feeling like I'm just working and doing things and never taking care of myself. It is kind of a way of like, nah, I'm taking my life back, because I do feel like in a way when you become an adult, that transition from being a kid is like tough. you know um it's a very different life phase, you know what I'm saying? And I've never said I wanted to stay a kid. I'm one of those people who was like, if I could stop at like age 21, 22, that'd be great, because I knew my college years would be fire. And to this day, I still think those are like the best years I've had so far. Just because like community and just the easy access to, like events and things like that. It was just never a dull moment. And I can even think back to that too. Is like when I think back of how I want to romanticize my life, it's like, okay, how did I feel in college? What did I do in college that made me feel like a certain way? And it was like a lot of activities and things. And we'll talk about that too. But I do want to reflect on, when it comes to romanticizing your life, it isn't just like it could be the regular things, and we're going to talk about what that looks like to use your daily living and how you can romanticize that, or how you can also take those additional steps out and take a trip, make a purchase or whatever. But there's range. And I do want to emphasize that, because I think some people think romanticizing your life automatically means money. In certain ways, it could be a financial consideration. It depends on like how you choose to romanticize your life. Everybody's different. And so I think that's important to note too, but like I said, living with intention, not perfection, is the biggest one. I think the biggest one of our biggest enemies is just the struggle of comparison, comparing yourself to others and comparing yourself to where you are compared to someone else, whether you're the same age or things like that. I know. Listen, every time I find out another streamer makes how much money for what, and I'm like, how old are they? Rough stuff. You know what I'm saying? I should have been streaming when I was a young grasshopper. It's a little too late for me. And, never say never, but I'm just not a streamer. I know that about me. But I think that, that is the idea in mind of like, okay, but it just enjoying your life. And what does that look like for you specifically? I think what's super important about it too is like taking a pause, slowing down, taking in those moments, those everyday moments. How can you really sit with them? Sometimes literally sit with them. Um, and I'm going to talk about what I do in those situations, in those cases. I think in regards to romanticizing my life, I also go of the idea of like, okay, choosing joy, choosing to feel better about where I am in my space, choosing to be content. I think it was Michelle Obama, or somebody. I think it was Michelle Obama. I can't remember exactly whether it was her podcast or not. She talked about the idea of like, sometimes it's okay to be content. And I think, she was like, we're always kind of like searching for this idea of happiness, but happiness is always ever changing. Um, and I think back to that too, like when you hear people say like, oh, I finally got to this point and now I'm not happy because now I'm trying to reach for another point. And I think that is life. It's like you're always kind of, the idea is that you're always leveling up. Not everybody's thinking that, but you're always leveling up or always trying to grow and change. And, you eventually get to a point and you're like, okay. Because I think back now too, like, wait, hold up. High school me kind of eat like would think I'm eating down. But I'm here now. I'm like, okay, this is cute. But like, no, actually, KaVonna, it's cute. Romanticize your life, take it in, and that's what's really important. Taking in those moments, taking in those small moments, and don't forgetting the joy about them. Don't forget the beauty about the moments that I'm in. A walk in the streets is not just a regular walk in the street. Sometimes it's like, nah, look up, look around you. Versus just like moving through the hustle and bustle of it all. So it really is that taking those pauses, being intentional about your life, taking in the joyful moments, taking in those beautiful moments, slowing down, pausing, all of the things. And I'm going to talk about that. So let's go into like personal examples real quick. First of all, how did I go into romanticizing life in the first place? One, the concept, I'm like, "Ugh, I'm a romance girly, of course, you know what I'm saying? But I really love the idea of saying, nah, bro, like I'm not, I'm not gonna be here working my butt off every day, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and just be sad, making money, barely making enough money. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a scam. I'm feeling scammed right now. It's like if I'm gonna one, there was a point where I was making money, but I couldn't really enjoy the money because I was paying bills and stuff. And then now I'm at a point where I can enjoy a little bit of cash, you know what I'm saying? But it's like girls still gotta be cute with it. And so, but how can I be cute with it? You know what I'm saying? How can I still take care of myself and be able to use the funds when I use the funds? Or if there was no funds, how can I be able to use my resources? And I am grateful that I live in New York City. It's like there's constant flows of free resources and free things to do, especially during the summer right now. And last year, what ended up happening was that was my last full school year, 2024, and I was ready to be done. I had been ready to go for a long time at that point, but I was definitely at my wits. I had been applying for jobs for like straight 2 years, back to back to back, no luck, and it was still not looking very successful at that point in time. And I was like, I can't be sad. These past 2 summers as being a teacher, I would sleep away the summer and realize, oh crap, like what did I freaking do with my summer? Um, I don't have anything to show for it. And I know that's probably not the best terming for it. But it really did feel like that. I was like, I can't even say like I took care of myself. And not saying sleeping around isn't, important. That's important too. Rest is very important, especially as a teacher. When you spend the whole school year being overstimulated like that, back to back to back. I was at a charter school. We had extra long hours, all that stuff like that. Trust and believe. It was necessary, but it was like, okay, but where's the balance in that? So once again, going back to that keyword intentional, I was intentional with the things I needed and within the things that I wanted. So what I ended up doing was, looking into those free resources. I got my culture pass. I was like, okay, KaVonna, bet we're gonna go check out a few museums that you've never seen before. What else haven't you done before? What would you like to do that you haven't done yet? TikTok, always a wonderful resource. TikTok, you be doing your thing. And on top of TikTok, sometimes things pop up on Insta and things like that, following like Secret NYC and all the things. So I was just finding things to do that I had never done before that sounded interesting. Something super small, like going to bingo in Bryant Park. Like, huh? Going to bingo in the heat, by the way. It was hot. But I was like, no, I've never done like public bingo, or I haven't done bingo since I was in college or even like younger than that as a kid. I was like, yeah, let me go to bingo and potentially win a prize Or let me go take a yoga class outside. That sounds great. Going to different museums I'd never been to before. I think that I remember the day I went to the Met Cloisters for the first time. It was a really lovely day. It was windy. I felt like I was in a different time and place. Just could enjoy the outside area, but enjoy the inside area. It was quiet. It was calm. Loved it down. Loved it down. I went back to the Met Cloisters again this year, and I showed my friends. Took them to go. Um, it was that. On top of that, I was also still taking my dance classes. That's a norm for me, though. I am a dancer. But I was taking my dance classes, trying new dance classes, or elevating more in one dance style versus another that I'm used to. I was still taking my aerial classes. More so I've become a hammock girly, but aerial silks as well. I got lazy. Aerial silks requires more arm strength. That's a side note. But doing things like that, where I was like, nah, we got to get up. We're applying for some jobs. That's a freaking job in itself. And then I also started TikTok. So that also became a thing, figuring that out. And in a way, low key, that was a bit of a romanticization in itself, because I was kind of figuring myself out, and that was a way of like self-love and self-care and like the journey. I was like, nah, if I'm gonna it was, listen, the job market was rough. It's still rough. It was looking rough. I was like, I might have to go back. And I did have to go back. I did have to go back in August last year. But I was like, if I'm gonna go back, I'm about to make some coin. Try to get myself out of the situation bad. And I was able to quit in September. I hadn't needed to get a job stat, but I was able to hold myself off for a bit, because of my TikTok journey. That was such a short period of time. So I'll never shout out to TikTok shop. Y'all can hate on it if you want, but they listen. The stickers came through, okay, and they're great stickers. I always do. Side note, I always do great TikTok shop stuff. I never get stuff that's bad. Or if I'm gonna do a review, I'm gonna be honest about it. I'll never lie. But that I think that was a part of the self-care, the self journey. That was romanticization in itself. And I feel like, while you know a summer feels like just a summer sometimes, I didn't go anywhere. I couldn't afford to go anywhere last year. You know what I'm saying? I was like, if I can't afford to go anywhere, and I'm freaking stressed out about this job, this job got me looking bad and stuff, like the stress starts to reflect the physical. I was like, I'm about to have the best summer ever here. I freaking live in New York City. And that's what I did. I refuse to be taken down. And I highly suggest that for yourself, whether it's a job or even something else, just like, what is the like the what is the rebellion, like, what is your move, to go against whatever is taking you down? How can you rise up, like Andre Day said? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was super important to do that. And then also, I had got into I got into Lego months before that, but that was also something. Let me sit down, build a Lego, watch a show, all those things like that. I was, you know what? Shout out to Eliza Hamilton, reclaiming the narrative. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you're not about to make me this American 9 to 5 worker, miserable, working the rest of my life until I'm however old. Like, nah. Like, I really do think these small steps in romanticization, it's not even it's gonna, it is. It's playing out the way it needs to, because I know in the future I will not just be someone who got by a system and like passes away and doesn't get to show it anything for it. You know what I'm saying? I think that was always was like the things I didn't want to do. Um and then I I wanted to go into, like, in regards to the rewrite specifically. If I'm reclaiming my narrative, I really am, like, also rewriting my success story. Um, for me, there was a period where I was like, oh, success is always money. And that's not always the case sometimes. I was living my best life last summer, and I was completely miserable, but I was enjoying doing different things and enjoying the small things, and I think that was what was really important to me, and that was successful to me. I was like, nah, that summer ate down. Was I still like sad about going back to work? Yes, but I could never say I didn't do that summer right. I didn't do the summer the way, there were no regrets, basically. Um so let's go into more specifically, though, what am I doing to romanticize? even now, I've talked about a bit of like specifically last year, last summer. Um, so one, there's a few things I want to go into how you romanticize in regards to just enjoying the pauses and enjoying the silence. I like the idea of like how what does romanticizing and resting look like? What? Yes, resting, stillness. Some people even say like softness as one thing. I don't know. I think I don't think that's in me. I haven't softened yet, and that's okay. I was about to say I'm a G, Just kidding. But like that's just not where I am, and that's okay. Therapy comes and therapy goes. But how to romanticize your life. So I want to go into one, some cozy vibes. One, I love a good playlist, a good music vibe. Let me put y'all on if you don't know. If y'all don't know Sade, sweetest taboo. What? So okay, and then she has so many more, by the way. Not just sweetest taboo, but I remember listening to that in the car when I was younger all the time. Like K 102.9 KBLX. If you're in the Bay Area, that was always on play. Um, and then amongst that, sometimes just also too, so there's playlists out there that on Spotify specifically, because I'm a Spotify girl. 102.9 KBLX, they have playlists that people made based off of that vibe of all the things that was like, playing during that time period. Because 102.9 KBLX is not the same anymore. It's basically like I don't even know how to explain it, but like what is it, 106.1 in the Bay? Yeah, they're basically the same thing. But basically like, like what's her name? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Uh oh my goodness. Anita Baker. When she'll, Anita Baker played um a lot of the old school to me, songs of the time. I love that. Put a candle on, light a candle, and sometimes, read a book or just sit in silence. Not in silence, but just like with your mind quiet in the sense of I'm not on my phone, I'm not scrolling, I'm not doing anything. I'm just existing in this space right now. The place smells good. I got music playing. I'm just existing. That is a peaceful moment to me. That is a peaceful pause. Other moments of pause, like I said, reading a book. You don't even have to have anything playing in the background. Um, Sometimes I'll read a book and like, I'll have my little aromatherapy. It's a little too hot for a candle right now. Aromatherapy, essential oils, etc., etc. I love a good skincare routine moment. Sometimes we just go zoom, 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 and we forget like, oh wait, I haven't really been, put on a little face mask. I went to recently, when I traveled to Connecticut, I was like, okay, I got a little face mask. I got a little foot mask, a little hand mask. I'm just gonna lay and chill. I sat in silence. I didn't even play any music. I was very proud of myself. And it was some of the most peaceful moments of just like, nah, just chillax, girl. It was just me, myself, and I, especially in this time and age where social media and phones are a thing. And it's like, it's doom scroll. It's so easy to just pick up your phone and go. I love a good park day. Now, that one, I know some people be like, no, well, that's not really like as quiet and pausing. It's in the stillness. Go to the park and grab a journal, get that manifestation going. I'll never forget. It was 2019. It was 2019. I went. I intentionally brought my journal. I sat in Central Park. I was not living in New York yet, by the way. Or no, was it 2019? Oh my gosh, I'm lying to y'all. My bad. I was still in college. It was 20. It was 2021, and I came to New York by myself. Um, and I sat in Central Park, and I grabbed my journal, and I was just watching people walk by, and I forgot the journal questions I had. I would have to grab my journal, my passion planner from that time. And I journaled in the back and I answered the questions of like, what do you want? What are you looking for? Where are you at now? What are your dreams? Be specific, things like that. And clock it, I moved to New York like 3 months later. So I kind of ate that. I ended up getting a job for New York that same month, I think weeks later. Yeah. And then I ended up moving out there the following January. Now, did the job stress me out? Heck yeah. I wouldn't change it though. I think I'm meant to be where I'm supposed to be. And I think the things happen the way they happened at the time they happened, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've been sitting in that a bit more, and being okay with that. It's like I'm not rich. I don't need to be rich. I would like to be able to not struggle, but I'm not struggling, you know what I'm saying? But I don't need to be like Oprah Winfrey rich. Oprah, by the way, girl, send some coins. You share the wealth. Share the wealth. um but on top of that, it's that like park days, hiking. I I've always enjoyed hiking, but I've always hiked previously with other people. And it was always like events or specific programs and stuff when I was younger, um, or in college. And so I was like, I haven't hiked in a long time. But, hiking by myself, ooh, I don't know. And I did it for the first time, and I specifically did it in a place that was actually a bit more public still. And didn't feel as isolating, didn't feel as scary. When I first started, I was like, "Oh, girl, ooh, I don't know." But no, it actually was like a really good experience. I did it on the 4th of July, so everybody was off, so there was a lot of people out, so it worked out. But I would like to do that more because sitting in the silence in the greenery of it all. Mhm. I hiked once in Yosemite. If you want a story for that, let me know. I could drop it. That's a whole podcast episode. But I hiked in Yosemite, and I remember sitting by the river and journaling there too. Nobody was around. There were people. I was hiking with people, but we took a pause. We had stopped at a campgrounds, and I remember sitting by the river. River's just flowing. You hear nothing. We hiked up high. We listen. Civilization was down below. And I just remember journaling. And I don't even know where that journal is. I don't get rid of my journal, so it's definitely somewhere, but I wish I would have put location wise. I know I dated it, but I would love to know exactly what I was writing when I was sitting by that river. But I really love journaling. I think it's super important. It's good to do a reflection. Like I said, we run through the moment so much. It's easy to get lost in the sauce. And I really do think, as simple as it may sound, journaling and reflecting and dreaming is a form of romanticization in itself. In regards to just dreaming. I had a dream my life would be, think about that. And maybe, not let him as Rob, but like think about where you want to be. And instead of saying no and oh, that can't really happen. It's like, no, that can happen. Like, do your thing. You never know. Eat. um I also talked about um in regards to, creativity expansion. I think that's important, and that's up to you. But I've done dance classes. I've gotten out of my comfort zone for certain dance classes. I still have not taken all the types of dance classes. I think essentially salsa will have to be next. That one I'm a little bit like, oh my gosh, but I think that would be cool to try out. I said I wanted to try a pottery class. I've done roller skating, aerial. I've been to events that I've never been to before, like Culture Con was super cool. I was able to go for free that year. That's the only way I'm attending. So Culture Con, if you're somehow listening, let a girl in this year. You know what I'm saying? I would love to go back. That was a cool experience. I think in a way, you know how in those movies when those main characters meet random people and they have conversations and stuff? I don't know. I feel like that kind of eats. So that's what happens a lot of times. Because I think for me, introvert social hour, and if you know me, and if you follow me on TikTok too, a lot of the stuff I be doing is solo dolo. So I love the experiences I get. Not that I'm chatting it up with people. Never get that wrong. Okay. As I don't do that, I'm not super social. I just kind of exist, and if conversations happen, they happen. But I'm not reaching out, talking to people galore throughout the whole time. And that's just not me. That's just not who I am. No shade to people. I just be, when you're okay with being around people, but you don't need to be talking all the time. That's me. Um, but I do think that's a big one. I did the Barnes and Noble, it was like book festival. Yeah, I think they called it book festival, not book fair. The book festival this past year in March, and that was a really cool experience. I met a fellow teacher. Well, like I wasn't a teacher at that time anymore, but I met someone who was a teacher, and I had a really cool conversation with her. Mind you, we're two girlies who love books. we're just there, and she's telling me how she left, didn't go to work, or left work early that day or something like that, and her kids was hoping that she get all these books. I'm like listening to her story, and I'm telling her about my past experience as a teacher and where I worked and what I'm doing now, and that was just like so fun, like, just I love having those random moments where you just come across people, and hey, you probably never see them again, but it's like, nah, I remember you, and I remember that conversation. Though that those are, I think of movie moments. Another thing is like, how can you romanticize your life? I think of movie moments. Another movie moment, having a cutesy little movie night at home. You can have it with your friends. You can have it by yourself. Get some popcorn. Get some snackies. Get a bev. Make you can even make the bev cute. um get a little frappuccino or something like that. That's up to you. But doing all of that, that's fun. Even the process of making it, it's like, okay, maybe I'll make a pizza, or maybe I'll bake some goodies for the first time. Though all these new experiences, that's what really makes it, this new intentional and fun and vibrant thing. Because it takes you out of the norm. I think when you get caught in the norm of, okay, I'm doing this, okay, I'm doing that, okay, I'm here, okay, I'm there, and everything just feels the same. But I will say I do love a good movie night here, or even like a good marathon run. Okay, I'm due for Scandal at some point. I did a rerun of Vampire Diaries last year. I never finished, but I always like to go over some of my favorite shows. I just recently started Heart of Dixie again. I think this is like my fifth time rewatching it. But if you have any recs, I'll take. I've done Grey's Anatomy. I'm not rewatching Grey's Anatomy again. It's still going, by the way. I'm not doing it. That's too much of a commitment. Same thing with Supernatural. All those double digit seasons, I caught up once. I'm not catching up again. I'm not rewatching them again. But I do love me a good Heart of Dixie rewatch, Vampire Diaries, Scandal. Um, I sometimes I'll do Witches of East End if y'all short lived show. But it only has 2 seasons. It always ends on a cliffhanger. Very sad boots. Drop Dead Diva. I'm past due for a rewatch of that. So just think about that. Your favorite shows, your favorite movies. How can you romanticize that? Those rewatch instead of just like sitting and watching it, which is also fun too. But add a meal in. You know what I'm saying? Give it a vibe. Turn get some cutesy lights. I have lights around my place. Get some cutesy lights, or get a candles, all that stuff like that. Make it smell good, make it look good. All in fun. But also, I love solo dates. I love just going to the movies. That's become a regular thing for me. I think it's still considered romanticization, but I do not because I do it so much now, I don't consider it to be that, but technically that is as well. Yeah. But I do it so much now. I love going to a good movie. And how I romanticize it, I give me a little popcorn, a little bev always. And the bev is icy. I love a good icy. Yup. Some and never the snacks. If I'm getting snacks, CVS or something, or if I already went to the grocery store. But I will, I don't know, something about movie theater popcorn. It hits different. And icy, yep. Now sometimes I sneak in a snack or two. Sometimes I might sneak in a meal. I'm not even gonna hold you, but that really just depends on the day. Do you? But highly recommend a solo movie time. You don't talk to people anyways when you shouldn't. You shouldn't. I'm looking at you sideways if you be chatting it up. But it doesn't hurt to do that, and just try being with yourself, sitting with yourself sometimes. That is a form of romanticization in itself as well. Just figuring out, how do I feel when I do this? Am I okay? Is a good experience? Okay, cool, awesome. I'd love to do this again. Or how can I, ooh, maybe this will give me an idea to do something else. Oh, okay. Would I want to do this with someone else? Things like that. I think we don't sit with ourselves enough. And I say we as people. I think it's it's weird. I was gonna say it's socially acceptable to be social. That's not necessarily the wording, but it's like if you're quiet, people find it weird, or if you're by yourself, people find it weird. I think people need to be more like they need to normalize people being by themselves more. I think because we don't sit with ourselves enough, we get lost in the sauce. Yeah. And that's okay. Some people are extroverts, and they need that. They need people around them. But I really do think even if you are extrovert, you need those times to sit with yourself. Even if you sit with yourself and you're reflecting in a journal and that's your you time, and then you're like, all right, hey, where's my person? Hey, where are we going today? Okay, bet. But I think that's really important. Think about it this way too. I said this a bit earlier, but like romanticization, I really do think when you're doing that, it leads you to a space of growth and continuation of like outside of this typical life that we are quote unquote meant to live, which I don't think is true. I think we're supposed to take care of ourselves. Um, if you're a book girly, go on a book shopping date. I love those. If you love a good bev, a coffee or something, go sit down at a coffee shop. Get a cute pastry. I love a croissant. Don't let it be a Danish. I love a good Danish. And just sit with yourself. People watch. I love people watching. Side note. I am a people watcher. Not too heavy though. You can't be staring down. Especially in New York, you can't be staring people down like that. But I love a good people watch moment as well. Just reflective. Oh, I wonder what they're doing. What am I doing? Oh, I'd love to do that. When I do that, it kind of, I don't know, gives me ideas about my life. Also something I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have a meal by myself. Coffee's easy. But like I want to okay, dinner, take myself out to dinner, take myself out to lunch. I love a good brunch. Love a good pancake and egg. So at some point I'm going to do that as well. In regards to traveling, let's talk about that. Now that's the big bucks one. I told you for last year I couldn't really travel that much. So I did traveling in the city that I lived in already. Highly suggest if you are somewhere that has spaces you've never been to, try out those new places, try out those new experiences. If you have towns over that you've never been to and you'd love to try them out, do that too, nearby things. That's what I've been working on this year. Well, I'm going to be doing 2 Disney trips, so these big travel things weren't going to be an option this year, because I chose Disney instead. Um, but because of that, I was like, okay, wait, I could take a train. Where's somewhere nearby that I can kind of like check out that I've never been to? That's what made me go to New Haven, Connecticut. I know some people were like, why go to New Haven? I was like, I've never been to New Haven. Let me see what it's about. Now that I've seen it, I'm like, would I really go back? Go back? No, I'd probably just find another place in Connecticut to find and, experience and just keep going. I want to just hop different places. I want to experience different states. I have the chance now, and I still have not hit different states out here. I've been to Massachusetts before, but it's been years, 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 years. 10 question mark? Yeah. And so I want to experience Massachusetts. I want to, what's up? What is Vermont worth it? What, nobody really be talking about Vermont, Rhode Island. What's in Rhode Island? Never been to Philly, but that's an easy one. That's why I didn't do it this time. I was like, I'll wait for Philly, you know. But I do want to try Philly, Pennsylvania, at some point. I think next year is going to happen. I've never actually stepped in the lands of Georgia. I've only been to the airport. And but the Black Romance Fest is in Atlanta, and I'm making it happen. It's I didn't go this year and I felt major FOMO. So that's where I will be next year. I'm gonna make sure I get those tickets. But that's where I'm gonna try to be next year. Different things like that. So I highly suggest that if you can find close places or far places, make that list. Make a list. I love making a list. In regards to journaling, I always in my planner, my passion planner, I am always making lists, book lists, but I make it cutesy. You know what I'm saying? I don't just write the list. I make it a bookshelf and make it cute. Same thing with my travel bucket list. I made it look like the plane was flying and I had different places around it. It's somewhere on my Instagram if you want to check it out. My passion planner layouts I had in the back. Movies to watch, Broadway shows to watch, etc., etc. I always have a list. So whenever I'm feeling out of whack or I'm not being intentional enough with my life anymore, I just kind of check back in on that, and look back. That's why once again I say journaling is so, 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 so important. I really do think that case of reflection is, necessary. Some people love a good bullet journal, even if you're not a planner person. Either way, I just have, even if it's a piece of paper that you randomly just need to lock in, keep that paper, post it on a wall. I have a vision board, and that's something that I always kind of look at. Now, am I being 100% intentional of always being like, okay, check? Not necessarily. I think I have it visually there as like something for me to, even if I'm not necessarily like thinking about it when I'm looking at it or it's crossing my, eyesight, it's always there. But my journal is my place to really lock in. But no, I think my vision board eats though. I really did a good job visually. I like it a lot, but I highly suggest that too. Even doing like a vision board date with yourself, that's romanticizing. Play some music. Like I said, I love a good Sade moment. But I do suggest traveling places if you can, even if it's one place a year, because I did see something recently on TikTok and I agree. If take yourself out of the norm, take yourself out of the day-to-day living. It's like you're meant to experience different places, experience different things. And when you're in this robotic motion of doing the same thing every week, every month, it gets boring, it gets taxing, it gets sad, it gets depressing. You know what I'm saying? And I noticed that last year as well, which is why I started kind of like doing the romanticizing of like, okay, experiencing new things at NYC if I can't go anywhere else. Because the summer before that, I was just like, ooh, it was bad. So that's why this year I was like, okay, now I could kind of like go a little somewhere. Let me go to Connecticut. Well, I went to Disney in May, but that was a 24-hour trip. You know, cheaper than doing a whole week or something like that by myself, and I was able to manage it and do it. And so just like, okay, what can I afford? What can I make shake? What can I make happen? I do suggest that even if it's a weekend trip, I want to make weekend trips more of a thing. Um I don't know where I'm going, don't ask me, but I've been seeing a lot of people do weekend trips to places, and I think I'm going to just start letting the flight prices guide me. I think I overthink the the concept of a trip, and I think that's what holds me back. So next time there's some flight sales and stuff. Oh, what? There's a sale for this for these dates? Okay, bet. I'm gonna just buy it. We going. All right. Guess I gotta find me a location to stay. Guess I gotta do this. Guess we got a plan. I'm gonna start letting flights determine my travel journey. And I actually think that's also in a way romanticizing, kind of fun. It's giving main character movie girl. It's like, ooh, where's she gonna go next? Ooh, what's she gonna do there? Ooh, what's gonna happen? Who knows? But I definitely suggest that if you can. But once again, finding ways to travel, quote quote, within your own place, within your own city, within your own state, if you can as well. Finding new things to do. The keyword there is new. In regards to day-to-day things too, I love a good morning routine. I have let go of it. It doesn't exist right now. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But when I had a good morning routine, couldn't touch me. I loved it. It brought such a sense of peace. And it wasn't like a routine of like, this is boring. No, I romanticized that morning routine. I got up, la di da di di, la di da da. I did have to get up a little bit earlier. I think that's why I haven't gotten back to it yet. Got up, made me a little brekkie, got me a little egg, got me a little toast, maybe some avocado if I was feeling like I needed to balance out my macros for the day. A little protein yogurt, etc., etc. Maybe a sausage or something, depending. Like I said, random mixtures of breakfast items. Then I'd sit and then I'd watch, Beyond the Gates because I missed the episode before, and I'd have an hour to just sit, eat, chill. Ooh, no, she didn't. What did he do now? Bill at it again, like, and I that doing that before I really started my morning and had to think about work, or before I had to think about just like the fact that I had to go to work in the first place, not just get up to go get dressed, go to work, but it's like, okay, we're doing this again. That really helped take away this, negative mindset that I had. Not even negative mindset, but it's just like negative energy that I had in regards to getting up and having to do things that I didn't want to do, as we do, and getting up and doing things the same way, the same time, and da da da. Me doing that. Okay, what am I gonna eat for breakfast? Okay, do I want to watch that or do I want to watch a YouTube video? Or maybe we'll do something different. I love that. Or maybe I'll read. I gave myself time. I gave myself credit. I gave myself air. I gave myself pause. All those things. So I highly suggest like a good morning routine if you can make that happen. I do want to set that back up again because I noticed there was this sort of like air and like the pressure of it all, and like, I'm not to be dramatic, but the pressure in my chest, it was a bit lighter, and I didn't feel like I felt a little bit more okay. Now, it was sometimes hard to get out of that and then have to get up and get dressed to go to work, but knowing that it was for me to feel better about those things was super important. Some people also, fun fact, they'll dress up. I don't do that because I'm about comfort. So I do be going to work in like some real comfy pants and a t-shirt because I can, and a sneaker, or sometimes don't let it be a croc. I will walk in a croc. But I suggest that too because I do think I need those days sometimes, especially when I'm either dancing or going to work. Maybe sometimes I'll got all these clothes, might as well try something. So I think I might try the do that sometimes. Just be cutesy instead of just throwing on the same old same old. And then also, if y'all can, by the way, in regards to traveling, if you can, take a drive, ride around, make your way downtown, driving fast. I meant to talk about that. I do not drive in the city, but I would say road trip. Not driving in the city. If you could do a road trip or like a mini road trip or something like that, that'd be really cool. I think that's something that's on my list at some point in my life. I can drive. It's just been a long time for me since I have driven. I don't drive, like, I don't need to drive in New York City. What did I do? I sold my car in 2022. Yes? Yeah, in 2022. So I haven't driven. I drove last year. That's a lie. I drove a rental car last year when I was in Cali, but that was it. And that was quick. I was a little nervy. I told my mom, I was like, girl, I haven't driven in how long? What you want me to do? I was like, okay, girl, I'll drop you off, sis. But yeah. But basically, to wrap this up, thank you for listening to all of my random commentary. But I hope this also helps, and I hope this kind of brings into perspective. Um, Once again, keywords intentional. You are the main character. Make main character moves. You know what I'm saying? Your routines don't have to necessarily feel like routines, your daily lives when they feel draining and back to back and same old, they don't have to feel like that. How can you fancify? I'm making that up. How can you fancify your daily habits, your daily living? Whether that is a cute bev, whether that is a little outdoor moment by yourself or a walk in the park, a journaling moment. Like I said, I love a journaling moment, a good skincare moment, a mask and a bev, maybe not at the same time, unless you got a straw, watching your favorite shows, playing a good playlist. Maybe I need to start romanticizing laundry day. Maybe I need to sweetest taboo, turn around, put it on the hanger. What? And then just keep going. Maybe that's what I need to do because the laundry still gets me to this day. I literally, let's not even talk about it. I'll be here all day. Laundry, listen, I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I had my clothes on my couch for about a month. On rotation though. On rotation though. Don't This is a no judgment zone, by the way. But yeah, just think of that. Daily living, it doesn't have to be always spending extra coin. It could literally just be changing your mindset about the things that you're doing. Being intentional about your solo moments, being intentional about your social moments. I feel like I need to probably be more intentional about my social moments, but I actually really love my solo moments, so I don't mind it. You know what I'm saying? Um, so just really think about that. I want you to take away with this of like, compared to for this time right now into next year, what do you want to look different? How do you want to feel different? You know, maybe what is your access like different? Financially, are you more free? And things like that, and how can you get there without feeling stressed about it, romanticizing it? Feeling better really does change your mindset about everything else, and it really does take you to new heights. I really do think so. This past year, dipping out of my job, saying hasta la vista, taking that leap when I had no backup plan, that really changed my mindset because I had no backup plan, but there was a backup plan that I just didn't know about. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, wait, like, things work out, but I got to believe them to work out. I got to believe in that. And so it's like, even when you're sitting these moments of, for me, like I said, I keep talking about like this work life that we have. set up specifically in the US because that's my experience. And no shot, no shade, no shade. I like my job, but are we supposed to be working like this forever? You know what I'm saying? Um, so no shade to the job. Never get that twisted. But I think about that a lot, and so it's like, how can you make these days better without going into like an existential crisis about like what does this look like for the rest of your life? Because I get into that sometimes, but then I look around and I'm like, wait, no, I got my Lego, I got my books, I got some stories, I got some great music I could play, I got some shows I could watch. Let me get some popcorn on. Let me make a bev. I always love a bev, y'all. If you couldn't tell, maybe I want to decide to start baking. I made pumpkin cream cheese muffins last year. Like, what made me do that? I'm not really a baker, but they actually kind of worked out. They weren't bad. Just things like that. I just want you to start thinking, being more intentional about your living, um, and just taking time for you. I think the key word is you are the main character. The key phrase, you are the main character. This is your life. You choose the way you want to live it. You are important. So you should take that time to be important. And romanticizing your life is making yourself important. It's making you the main character. And so I want you to take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? We deserve better than this. If we're going to be working all our lives, we better take care of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to say, as Elphaba said, defy that gravity, defy what's taking you down, and lift yourself back up. Fly. Shout out to Wicked 2 for good coming out. And take care. Once again, take care of yourselves. Times are hard, but you can, really be your best version of you. I feel that defiance, that rebellion, that you choosing to take care of yourself, to prioritize yourself, and outside of everything else, no one could take that from you. Especially, literally, no one could take that from you. Small, big moments, all of those things count to your energy, your main character energy. So really, really take that in. I hope all of that made sense, y'all. I just wanted to bring that in to kind of wrap us up for this season. Because who knows? Every time I come back, it's always something different going on, or every time I end, there's something different going on. But I really do think I'm in a really solid season right now of my life where I'm just taking care of me and prioritizing me. And you know, not to get too deep on y'all, but that's not a thing that's really been the case scenario a lot of the times. And I really am just like, nah, pushing you to the side. I'm focusing on me. I'm being a little selfish, and I love that right now. Um, Oldest daughter, if you could relate, oldest daughter here, and that has been a journey of just like, nah, you take care of you, and the journey still continues. There's still things to be worked out and figured out and things like that. But once again, I'm the main character. You are the main character. So once you focus on yourself, you can get to that development and get to that growth. And that's what's really important. But yes, I hope that when we reconvene, there's new points and new journeys that you're on, new phases of the journey that you may be on, if there's the singular journey, et cetera, et cetera. And I really, really hope all things great. Have a wonderful Halloween season, first of all, because I love Halloween. A fall season. Have a wonderful holiday season. Um, I hope that I see you next season, or first of all, hear you next season. Once again, make sure you follow me at the Introvert Social Hour on TikTok, at KaVonna on Instagram to stay up to date on what I'm doing, stay up to date on when the podcast will be in its return phase. Make sure you're still going back and listening to previous episodes and catching up. You listening to the podcast is what helps the podcast go. And so that really determines a lot for next season. I'm going to hold y'all to be a little bit transparent. So make sure you're going back and, sharing, liking, following, et cetera, et cetera. Once again, wherever you're listening, where it's available. But just in case, it's available on my YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple Music, et cetera, et cetera. Wherever you're listening to your other podcasts, you can find the Introvert Social Hour podcast. And then just make sure you're up to date on what I'm doing. So you know when it's coming back. But yeah, that's all, y'all. Have a great rest of your 2025. Look out for bonus episodes as well. They will be, sporadic. So make sure you're following so you know when they're popping out. Those are for the people who follow. And have a great 2025. And I will see you next year. Question mark bonus episodes on the Introvert Social Hour. I'll see you.